don't know if it's going to hold or not.
You worried about it?
I don't want Dr. Treese to kind of like, you know, drop a dime on us. You know? Huh? Oh.
Sure. I'll show you what I know. Okay. Cool. I got you. Definitely.
No worries. So we have Jane Tab. And I'm going to put an asterisk next to her because she's zoomed in. Web. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. We have a quorum with Jane.
Trisha getting on or no?
I have no idea.
We know that Dr. Treese was probably not going to be here.
Okay.
And Chief Schutz was probably not.
Yeah. Yeah, Ronnie's not going to be on.
So, yeah, I'm not sure who's called in. There's somebody in the front.
But Ronnie's not, is Nathan going to be on this call?
Yes.
Okay. But Ronnie's not a voting member, so we have a quorum without Tony and without Trisha.
Just so you know, Caleb Taylor is the one who called in right now.
All right, Bob, let me know when we're ready.
I think we're ready. Commissioner Tab, can you hear us?
I can't hear her.
Well, she's muted. Now she's up.
Who else do we have besides Commissioner Tab?
Ellie, did you hear Caleb Taylor on?
We need to be able to hear her. Hello, Commissioner Tab. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can now. Yes.
She can hear us, but we can't hear her.
It says I'm muted.
Okay.
Trisha looks like she's coming on.
Okay, good. So I'll put her on.
540 number.
You got a sign.
Muted.
Oh, all right. So can you unmute and just so we can test to see if we can hear you?
No.
Yeah, oh, you muted her?
I just unmuted her. I didn't mean to mute her.
Have you been, I think,
Okay, yeah, can you hear me? No.
I know where he lives.
the immutable. Oh, that's Tricia. Hi.
Let me see.
All right, so we've got TJ on here. Right, I can't hear anybody either. We have a quorum for sure.
And I'll tell you, it's been
Mine's everybody meeting.
Oh,
I don't know, but I see the commissioner's boss behind her.
there. We hear you. All right, can we hear Tricia Jackson?
Nathan's on now too. I see Nathan's on.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Nathan, can we hear you?
I can hear you.
Wow. The lawyer's always the loudest one in the room.
There he is.
Okay, he is not a board member. He's representing the ESA, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, anybody else?
Did you guys hear Miss Jane at all?
Well, I heard her for one syllable.
Right, I don't know what's going on.
There you are.
There you go.
Gotcha.
Now we
It's
got you.
working? All right.
Yeah, yeah.
It says I'm muted, so I don't know what's going on.
No, like I said, you are now immutable.
Oh,
Okay.
well, that's going to be cause for worry.
All right, so it is 7:04. I'm going to call this meeting to order. And as on the sign-up sheet, I have Debbie Lancaster, myself, Alan Kaiser, Bob Fass, Craig Simpson, that's Twiggy, and Commissioner Tab, Tricia Jackson. Commissioner Tab and Tricia Jackson are on the line. And anybody else that I missed? I have Nathan Cochran, and I have on the line, and Bob Berner off, kind of a little off-site here. So, and, oh yeah, got you down. What's that? Craig Horn, right. And he is representing the fire company, right?
Elliot, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm here as Caleb Taylor for the grant.
Oh, good, Caleb.
That's the 540.
That's Caleb Taylor, right? Okay. All right then, thank you. All right, so that's who we have on this meeting, and so the first order of business, besides the roll call, which we just did, is the approval of the minutes, the June 16th minutes. Are there any comments about the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as read.
Bob Foss makes a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, that's Twiggy with a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes have been approved. Today's the 21st. Do that right now. I have a tendency to forget stuff like that. Yeah. All right, so next order of business is the treasurer's report. That's Craig Simpson, assisted by Alan Kaiser for the June 2020 financials.
Jefferson County Emergency Services Agency 2019-2020 overview for the month of June. 2020 budget approved, $3,147,000. This is allocated as follows: the ambulance fee department, $916,000, and the JCESA department, $2,231,000, which included staff. Bank account balances as of 6/30/2020. General fund, $266,687. Payroll, $149,492. The ambulance fee funds, $745,322. And the mortgage, $111,271. On the expense sheet for the FY19, FY20 expenses for the JCESA fund, which is the general and the ambulance fee, you'll see what we spent, what was projected, and the year to date. Looking at the full-time salaries, we did run over on the full-time salaries. We were over a little bit on the part-time, and the part-time, remember, makes up for all the full-time folks that are off the floor that are available to work that we use on a regular basis. Overtime itself was over, and I'll tell you what, we go to, and at the bottom line for the end of the year, year to date we ran $57,036 under with our budget. So we were very frugal, and it turned out to be a really good thing. Now we have an opportunity to purchase some gear, so that was really good. On the reference to the full-time salaries and the overtime, again, this is vetted by the lieutenants and the captains, and they keep it very, very stern, and we follow the right numbers in the pay periods that you're in. It was just under 1%. And you have to remember also, we had 2 holidays, so West Virginia Day and primary election. We also had 180 hours of personal leave for vacation, folks that were out. And we had 1 employee who was out for 50 hours for medical leave. So with that being said, we were still able to keep our overtime under 1%, but the holiday workover was at 1%. So we did a very frugal job of keeping that part balanced within our workforce. Right now, we have no one off the floor due to COVID-19. We have no employees under PUI, and all workers are coming to work and doing their jobs. So that's it for the budget, unless you have questions.
I just have a comment. Congratulations for coming in under budget. And so that actually is when you're talking about year to date, that concludes the year, the fiscal year.
The fiscal year is finished.
Okay.
As of this meeting today.
Right.
It started July 1. That is correct.
Any other questions or comments? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the treasury report.
Bob Foss. Second? Do I get a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Simpson.
We'll get through this.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carries unanimously. All right, so then next on the agenda would be the chairman's report, and I don't have anything for this month. So we move on to the association report, and Mr. Schutz is not here, so there's no report in that regard. So we move on to the director's report. Mr. Kaiser.
All right, thank you, sir. What I have under my report is, number 1 is the COVID-19, the CARES Act, the Coronavirus Aid Relief, Economic Security, we put in through the county commission with our budget director in the county. We were able to apply the $18,000 that we spent out of our budget, out of the ESA budget, for PPE and coronavirus first responder equipment. I was just informed last week that that was approved, and once that money lands in Jefferson County, we'll be getting our $18,000 back into our general fund. So that hats off to everybody working together. I've talked to each and every fire chief in the county, and one of the EMS chiefs and let them know that we did not have a meeting this month for the association, but let them know that they're ordering the supplies. We took that burden off of them for the last 4 months, and we were very happy to get that money back into our budget. Once it gets back in there, that makes a big difference. But the volunteers will now take over that ordering of their supplies. Right now, looking at Cat Burger's inventory sheets, we're 16 to 20 weeks out in that type of supplies. That's, you know, the N95 masks, the face shields, the coveralls or gowns, if you will, and the gloves. Those things are, and hand sanitizer. We're out about 16 to 20 weeks. So that means our supply shelves are pretty full in each of the 7 stations, and including here at the ESA. So we're really thankful we got that back. The 4 new positions that were approved in the FY21 budget, the EMT firefighter positions, have now started their first day of work. The first employee started, and we thank the county commissioners for that because that was phenomenal to do that. They started on July 12th on shift work at Blue Ridge Mountain Station 5. That now gives the 3rd fully staffed, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week medic unit in Jefferson County. So that is a true honor to have that and support the citizens of this county with that type of service. The 3rd thing I have on the list is the FEMA grant update. And I have Caleb Taylor, our grant coordinator, is going to give you an update on where we're at and where we're doing. Caleb?
Good evening. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good deal. So we just finished up a final mock practice audit with our CPA that we have on board. He has approved and vetted everything. We can track everything throughout the entire grant to submit to FEMA towards the end of the report. The only thing we're waiting on and preparing for now is to prepare for an extension for the grant, pending the board's approval in, requesting that extension. So that we can spend the remaining funds that are left there. COVID put kind of a hurting on us as far as trying to recruit people within the past 3-4 months. And we've had several outside advisors say that they really think that we could get an extension to the grant so that we can, provide more to these fire companies here in Jefferson County. As far as anything else is concerned, we're getting ready to shut down all expenditures in August until we get either approved for the extension, and if not, then balancing the funding with FEMA between here and the last 3 months of the grant. We want to just try and freeze our spending this way. We don't have any other further issues or, spend too much and then have to be liable for anything that may happen. But that's all I have for right now.
All right, thank you, Caleb. What Caleb was talking about, we had our CPA come in, Carrie Swope, who's the CPA for our organization here, came in and did an audit on the entire program for 3.5-year audit. So that when we need to know what we may be missing or how great we've actually done. So in 3.5 years, the CPA came up with one sheet, about 9 or 10 different items that needed to be placed in the book, placed in the program, placed on the accountability sheet and ready for auditing. CPA came back 1 month later, which was just last Thursday, did a review of the 1-page items and found that we had corrected all 9 items on the list. Caleb is right, and hats off that you walk in, you can find everything in order the way it's supposed to be. It was a lot of hard work, and I really appreciate Debbie and Caleb and making sure that worked, and certainly the CPA that took care of that curious work. That's my report, sir, for this month.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is the board member requests section. And we have the JCESA Board meeting with the JCFRA Board, the association, to discuss each other's expectations and the documents needed to receive county funding for fiscal year 21. Bob Foss.
Thank you. Good evening. So a couple things to discuss. I just got an email today, the revised checklist as of today's date for the fire departments to receive county funding. Commissioner Tab, I think there's a little bit of conversation. I think between us, if we can, because I'm starting to hear from fire companies inquiring when they are going to get their county funding. So I think at some point we need to put out some direction or guidance along with this checklist of the expectations for their requirements in order to receive that county funding. Do you have any insight on that at all at this point? Vaguely rough?
I would think perhaps, well, I'm going to put it on the agenda for next week to make sure it gets done. I just think there's so many moving parts right now with trying to figure out the COVID and CARE Acts stuff going on, and maybe it's gotten lost in the shuffle, or so I will look into that.
Okay, so another question while we're looking into, there's been some conversation about the potential for the fire companies to receive a P card with that funding on it. So the concern that has been brought to my attention, as well as knowing a bit about P cards in the process, is there are a number of fire companies in the county that utilize the county funding to pay their mortgage and stuff like that. So if that is the case, we need to look into, or somebody should look into the fact or the possibility, are they able to use that P card to make a mortgage payment? Or is that something that, hey, whatever their mortgage is, we send them a check to cover that amount, and the remainder goes on a P card, or whatever the process may be. I think we need some insight on that. Again, this is coming from the fire companies. They're getting word that, hey, we're hearing that this is a possibility. They're just looking for some direction and guidance.
That sounds good.
Okay, so the other side of this is the component where at some point we need to get to the table with the Jefferson County Fire Rescue Association Board and discuss the multiple state and local documents on the fire JCESA being the fire board. It's addressed both in the West Virginia Code, Chapter 7, Article 17, as well as the Senate Bill 224 that was passed in March of '08 and went effective in June of the same year. All dictating that, as well as there's some documentation and commentary about that in the West Virginia or Jefferson County, West Virginia Emergency Ambulance Service Fee Ordinance. So I think it's just a matter of getting with them, see what their expectations of us are, see what our expectations of them are, and working together to try to get everybody on the same page to do what we need to do. Again, I'm looking for input, obviously, from the fire companies, as well as the board and stuff like that on the direction and guidance on that. It's just something that we've been talking about, at least I'm aware of, multiple months this year, that I think we should start. And then I know the COVID didn't help with any of that at all.
You're right. Yeah.
I think some sort of a direction and guidance on where to head. And because again, fire companies are asking for some direction and guidance and thoughts and stuff like that. So
I think the fire companies are getting frustrated with the moving goal line. It keeps moving.
it does.
So we need to figure out where it's going to be and let it be there, but it can't keep moving.
Right.
And the P card thing, you know, why not just give each department a check and let them take care of it? I don't know why they're pushing for the P card.
Yeah, and I don't know where that came from, honestly. Unfortunately, like I said, I have had multiple questions. Multiple people ask me questions regarding that, and I can't give a direction. I have no idea where the concept of the P card came from or any of that thing. To me, again, I'm only one person that doesn't have a lot of say in the thing. It makes sense to hand you guys a check on whatever that amount is, provided that blah, blah, blah fire company meets the necessary criteria in order to get county funding.
Two things regarding that. One of the things, there was a presentation made regarding the P card from the state auditor's office. And the P card, the rationale behind using the P card is that it aggregates purchasing power and aggregates cash rebates that accrue back to the county government. So that was the reason for the P card.
Okay.
Is that there's some money that it generated a little extra revenue. I think it was 1% of the purchase.
Sure. So to me, okay, I understand that. But the flip side is can Seven make a mortgage payment with that P card? I know there are limitations. Again, I've used P cards through work, and there are limitations on what they can and can't be used for, you know? So if there's direction and guidance on that, and if it's acceptable, then I understand.
Jane, does the county, as the rep from the county, which is where all the funds kind of flow from, is there some guidance on the parameters for use of the P card?
I'm not intimately familiar with them, but I will bring it up with staff. I guess it's just if the mortgage company will accept that type of payment. I don't really know. I know Director Kaiser is an ESA on P card, but maybe not for the mortgage payment. I'm not sure how you're using it.
We're on the P card, the payback P card, which puts back 1.65% back into the county budget. It pays everything but the mortgage. Most everything is paid by P card. Yeah. Well, I think probably Michelle Gordon will do that.
Well, and I think this state auditor can tell us a whole lot too of how it can be used.
Right. The representative from the state auditor's office that originally did the presentation is no longer with them. So, all right. Now to Mr. Simpson's point, I was going to make the comment under unfinished business is that Mr. Foss has been wanting to have a discussion, and I know Commissioner Tabb has also, about the duties and you know, the authority of the ESA as acting as the fire board, and that we do need to have conversation, that we keep deferring that conversation until we can all meet in person, and that doesn't ever seem to happen. So that's why it's been pushed off a month after month, and it's not on the agenda for this week because we're not on, you know, we're not going to meet in person.
Well, let me just say, in my opinion, it's already been handled. It is state law that what Jefferson County is the only county in the state that has an emergency services agency board. It is state law that it combined the ambulance authority with the fire board to make that board. Because they pushed, Jay Watson went down to Charleston several times to push that. So I think that should be it.
Yeah.
All right, I understand that. So then what we need to do then is to go through the documents, whether the ordinance itself and the state code that applies to this, and then incorporate those operations in our monthly meetings. So I guess I'm just going to have to do that as part of, should I just do that as the chairman's report every month?
And I have all that documentation here.
Yeah, I have a copy of it at home.
You know, so I think the big thing for me is, okay, we take over tomorrow. I don't even know where to start. You know, I mean, I was hoping to get to the table with the, does that make sense? You know, I would like to get to the table and say, hey, what do you guys do? What is your expectations?
It makes sense, but to be honest with you, until the commission decides to collect a fire fee, there's nothing to do. Nothing.
Well, that was going to be my next comment, and that it seems to be working as it is, and you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But Commissioner Tabb, do you want to say something?
I mean, I disagree somewhat with what you said, Twiggy. I think the fire board should be in partnership with the Fire and Rescue Association, should be part of the conversation on what their funding needs are. It doesn't, I don't think the fire board would just manage the fire fee. It could be what the request to the county commission is.
Well, the budget
right now, that's coming through this agency.
And right
Wait,
now,
wait. It's not coming through this agency. It's Fire and Rescue decides it, and it gets passed to ESA. The ESA has never sat down to what I can recollect and say, okay, tell me what you need with some justification. We have not seen that.
well,
I think the it should start with the Fire and Rescue, the ESA board, not just as the spokesman. And you've done a great job, Mr. Kaiser, and I'm not criticizing you or anyone who's filled your position before, but then it comes to the county commission.
well,
That's my thought.
from what I understand, thank you. From what I understand, see, if the ESA is the fire board as well, the budget, the money flows through the ESA really just out to the emergency services, the ambulance and the EMTs. That's what the ESA is responsible for. In terms of being the fire board, the ESA has no effective authority if it's not controlling the purse strings, because the budgets are created and through the individual fire companies, and the funds come from various sources. And the ESA has no say over the budgets of the fire companies. So I'm trying to figure out what the effect is of the ordinance and of our authority if the funds don't come through this body.
But if I may say, the county funds do come through this body.
Not to the fire department.
Yes, they do.
Well,
Yes, they do.
From the county
all right.
into this pool,
Okay.
and then the fire departments have to meet the different list of things that they want, requirements to get the money before it's released to them.
We vet the 990s
Well,
prior to sending that down, the individual fire company 990 tax sheet before we send it down to the budget director. Then the budget director releases the check. That's correct.
And then
right.
it comes back through this organization to get passed out.
but is
Well, yeah, it should, but what happens is they go pick it up.
Right.
The volunteer leadership goes and picks the checks up.
Right.
So for my 2.5 years, they've gone and picked up their own checks.
Right.
So we just vet the 990.
That's what I meant.
But I think where Twiggy's at with this is what I'm listening to. If you're gonna if it's gonna be the fire board, and it is in the document, then maybe that's a job for the board can do that.
But
I don't know how it's gonna be set up. Do you agree, Ms. Jane? Does that make sense?
I didn't hear all that.
Well, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's all right. If the funds do flow technically through, I mean, it's sort of like, we're just a pass-through. I mean, if we wanted to start exercising authority and saying, no, we're not going to authorize the funds to go to certain things, I mean, that's going to cause all kinds of chaos.
No, this is my point. What I say, Fire and Rescue wants, and I'm just being outlandish, $1 million for each fire department. Is the ESA board going to accept that request and pass it on to the county commission? Or is the ESA board going to look at that request and analyze it and determine, what is perhaps a more reasonable amount to submit to the county commission?
So I like that thought process and I like the concept behind that. But to me, that's why it's important to get on board with the Fire Rescue Association. Right. There's 2 people who sit on this board, or 3, including the director, that are pretty intimately aware of day-to-day operations in the fire station. So for a largely citizen-based board, it would be very difficult. Okay, company 2, let's pick a number, says that they need 11 wiggy-majiggies. Well, that doesn't mean anything to the civilian, but the 3 of us who are fire rescue related have some built into that. So I think my thought process on bringing in the Fire Rescue Association is keeping these chiefs or chief officers or whoever they have as their designee from their fire company intimately involved with that, so they can come and sell it to the board. It shouldn't be the board's job to sell it to the other board members. It should be company two, whatever, pick a number, to sell their requests, their needs, their desires. You know, if a company wants us to buy them, build them a new fire station, sure, there's a problem, okay? But, you know, I think outside of that, keeping an intimate relationship with the Fire Rescue Association would help that process.
Right, and I think the bigger picture for where I'm looking is this is, right now, it's not a fire fee, but no matter where the funds were coming from the commission, it's taxpayers' money, and we need accountability. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that there's anything has been misused, but
Sure.
I think it's the responsibility of the board to ensure accountability, and the requests are, you know, it's what they actually need.
So, Ms. Jane, and again, I'm not very aware on the funding of the fire companies. Do all 7 fire companies pretty much get the same amount of funding?
Yeah.
So this year, 89,000, I'm gonna pick a number, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
$89,000 across the board to every fire company.
That has been my experience, that the fire and rescue group votes that all companies receive the same amount.
Okay. All right. So company 3 asks for 75,000 this year. Company 2 asks for 110. Is there a means of playing with those numbers in order to do that?
I think that's something the ESA board could figure out.
Okay. All right.
I think that's more the Fire and Rescue Association, because
Well,
just from all my years of being involved with fire and rescue in this county, which has been quite a few, I can tell you, yeah, the smaller departments are gonna say, yeah, we don't have any money, we don't have anything established. But the larger departments are gonna say, but yeah, we have lots of bills and lots of this and lots of that. So to keep everything on an even keel, the association has always voted to go equal disbursements to each department.
Okay.
And I think that if that changes, you're gonna see a whole big bunch of fighting come
Sure.
money time.
Yeah.
Well, then I have a question, and that is, should there then be a joint meeting between the ESA and the association?
Well, and I've been asking for that for months.
yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
well then,
Yeah.
how do we make that happen?
I think the biggest thing is, and like you mentioned earlier, Director, is that everybody wants to wait until things open back up. Here's the problem. The rate we're going, we're looking potentially December, right?
Yeah.
Who knows
Maybe.
what's going on with this? Maybe December, right?
Yeah.
It's very hard to tell. We're almost better off if we have the capabilities to set up something like this. If it's something that needs to be spearheaded and stop kicking the line down the field, let's make it happen. You know, as we can make that happen anytime. Hey, we're having an ESA, meeting with Fire Rescue Association next month.
Well, I think that Independent and Shepherdstown both have the facilities that if you wanted to have an in-person meeting, we could spread people out enough to do the social distancing in our banquet rooms.
I'd like to have it in person.
Me
My
too.
opinion is
Right.
I'd like to have it in person.
I agree.
It's a
Yeah.
more personal environment. It's more, we're face to face and truly being able to have a conversation and not necessarily hiding behind, and I hate to say it, a computer screen or a camera, right?
I agree.
I agree. I'm tired of these meetings.
It is, and it's very
We all are.
personal, unfortunately.
We're all tired of it, just sick and tired.
But maybe that's the thing to do is let's come up with a date, and I don't have a problem reaching out to Ronnie and say, hey, I would like to get the board together, let's say next month, whatever.
Well, then, I make a motion then to form a committee to make this meeting happen. And I would like to nominate Twiggy and Bob to be on that committee and to make it happen.
So do you think we really need do we need a committee to make a
Well,
meeting happen?
just to get the logistics of who's
Okay.
available.
Sure.
Yeah, because, I'm pretty open, but you don't know who's available.
Sure.
So pick a date where everybody's available and to make it happen. That's,
Okay.
so I would like to make that motion. Do we have
Second.
do we have a second? All right, any further discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, anybody against it? All right, it passes unanimously.
Well, and I'll work on getting some information on the P card and where the fire department checks when they will be available.
Okay, thank you. All right, did you get that, Debbie? Great. All right, so any other board member requests? All right, I don't have any unfinished business on the agenda. So we're going to move on to new business. And we don't have any new business on the agenda. And I was going to actually bring up what Bob brought up, but he brought it up, so we've already discussed it. So is there any other impromptu new business that anybody would like to bring forward?
Yeah, I'd like to discuss the $1 million that Jane talked about.
All right.
I wish I could make it happen.
I'll let you two take that offline. All right, we're at the public comments section and nobody has signed up. So we are going to move on. And that means that we're up to adjournment. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
To adjourn.
Bob says it makes the motion. Anybody second it?
Second.
Twiggy seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Bye.
All right, we are hereby adjourned at 7:38.
Take care, everyone.
Record, Elliot, but you're getting close.